I think it's important for contemporary art curators to not stick around so long. You know, to remain current, I think it's good to be um, in a new situation every 5, 7 years. Other curators, say American or European curators, have their careers involve research and um, often academics. Often they're combined. Sometimes they'll teach at a university, do research, and uh, and prepare exhibitions for long lead times, 5, 10 years out. So it's a
Wow.
lot different than working as a contemporary curator. So those folks tend to stick around for a long time, decades. Now, my job description is curator of modern and contemporary art. The museum hired me to build bridges between the museum and the community, meaning
Okay.
artists in the community. That had there had been a lot of bad blood between the museum and artists for a long time, maybe decades. When I am thinking about exhibitions, I will at the same time be thinking about funding sources that are appropriate, whether they're grants or private individuals or corporations that might be interested. There's a good fit. There's a good fit for almost every type of funder out there, and I think it's just experience. It takes experience to understand and identify who those funders will be. I hate art fairs, but I have to
Everybody
do it.
hates art fairs, I think.
I know. I hate them, but I have to do it because it's a way for me to do business. Really concentrated amount of business in a couple of days. Saves on travel. It's budget relieving, because everyone's going to New York or what have you, Miami. And so it's a good way for me to meet artists, dealers, and do a little business in terms of acquisitions, maybe, or see new work. If I'm going to spend the time and energy and the resources to acquire something from the museum, we need to show it and figure out where to show it. So that's part of the plan. Everything that I've acquired the last, or not everything, but many of the things I've acquired the last 6 months are on view right now. I I try to keep an open mind and talk with colleagues and educate myself about what is relevant today and how is it relevant to our museum context and to our community, our local community, and hope that I make the right decisions about whether it's exhibitions or acquisitions. It's a great exercise for me to be able to present a plan for how the museum, how our work fits within the scope of a collection, and how we plan to care for it and show it, and also how we plan to pay for it. Yeah, I mean that one of the great things that I can still hang on to that I love about my job is the idea about connoisseurship, which is kind of a fuzzy idea, I guess. Um, but it just implies that I I know what I'm looking at, and if I feel it has merit, whether they're formal strengths or other qualities that merit acquisition by museum, I want to go for it. But if it's something is sort of middling and as a second-rate example of an artist's work, I don't want to stick to museum with that. I'd rather acquire something really strong by someone young who may or may not reach a certain success in his or her career, but still we can help be part of that career. Well, I think that the ultimate goal should be to establish a relationship with a curator and get to know him or her, and then try to have an honest conversation to see if it's of interest, if your work is of interest to them. And I think if that person's willing to have that conversation, pretty soon whether or not that's a possibility. And then you can move on to whether it's another curator elsewhere or that person may be willing to offer advice. Actually, one guy who's a terrific artist, he's a street artist in Atlanta. I met through Facebook, and he went away to Korea on a trip. He had the chutzpah to go on his own, and came back after 8 months. I hadn't heard from him for a while, and got back in touch with me and said, "Hey, I'm back from Korea. I saw some cool things. Having a show at this skateboard shop." So I came by to see a show, and I bought a piece for our collection. I will have done some homework in advance, seeing their work in person at a gallery or in someone's home if they're not represented by a gallery, and asking around, just basically doing a little homework to get to know the artist and the work, to see if the person is serious, has been working for a while, or if the work that I'd seen that turned me on was, you know, um, was something that was an anomaly. Sometimes that happens.